He walked into the bank as a simple man, but walked out as a man the world would never forget. The manager thought rejecting him was harmless. She didn't know her mistake would echo into a $14 billion storm that would rewrite history. In the heart of Paris, a cold winter wind rattled the glass doors of a grand bank. Inside, the air smelled of polished marble and expensive cologne. Customers in tailored suits stood in neat lines. Among them was a tall man in a simple jacket, Ibrahim Traoré. He carried a plain leather folder worn at the edges. To anyone watching, he looked like an ordinary traveler. But today, he had come with a purpose that would change more than just his life. He approached the reception desk, his voice calm. "I have an appointment with the branch manager." The receptionist typed quickly, scanning her screen. "Please wait in the lobby." Minutes later, the door to a glass office opened. A middle-aged woman in a navy suit stood there. Her sharp eyes scanned him from head to toe. She didn't smile. "Mr. Traoré? This way." Her tone was clipped, cold. They sat across a mahogany desk. "You applied for a business loan," she began. Ibrahim nodded. "Yes, my team has a development project that—" She cut him off. "We've reviewed your application. It's not suitable." Ibrahim frowned. "Not suitable? My financials are strong. The plan is—" "Mr. Traoré," she interrupted again, leaning forward, "this bank has standards. We don't take risks on unestablished clients." The word unestablished was heavy with something unspoken. He saw it in her eyes. It wasn't about risk. It was about him. His accent, his skin, his name. She slid his folder across the desk as if it carried dust. "I'm afraid we can't help you. Good day." For a moment, Ibrahim sat still. The silence in the room felt like ice. Then, quietly, he stood. "Thank you for your time." He walked out of the bank without looking back, but inside something had been lit. A spark, and sparks have a way of becoming wildfires. That night, Ibrahim didn't sleep. He remembered every second of that meeting, every pause, every glance, every word. He knew one thing. He would never again ask for a seat at someone else's table. He would build his own. With that decision, the plan began. Ibrahim called his team, engineers, economists, entrepreneurs, men and women who believed in his vision. They met in a small apartment lit by a single bulb. Maps and charts covered the walls. "We will start here," he said, pointing at West Africa. "Renewable energy, infrastructure, technology." "And the funding?" one asked. Ibrahim smiled. "We'll create it ourselves." Over the next months, he worked without pause. He traveled across continents, meeting investors who shared his dream, signing deals others thought impossible, building partnerships in silence. Every handshake was another brick in the empire. The rejected bank loan became a forgotten shadow. 2 years later, the first project launched, a solar energy plant the size of a small city. Then came the high-speed rail, then the tech hub. Money began to flow, not from banks, but from revenue. The empire grew. Governments began calling him. Corporations offered joint ventures. He said yes to some, no to most. His rule was simple. We own our future. By the 5th year, Ibrahim's companies operated in 14 countries. His workforce exceeded 120,000 people. And his net worth? More than the GDP of some nations. Then came the day fate brought him back to Paris. He was there to acquire a major European logistics firm. The deal was worth $14 billion. The signing ceremony was set at the same bank, the very same branch. The marble floors still shone, the air still smelled of expensive cologne, and behind the glass office door, the same bank manager sat. Her hair had more gray now. She didn't recognize him at first, not until he stepped in and smiled. "We meet again." Her eyes widened. Memories flickered in her mind. You're Mr. Traoré? Yes, he replied calmly. Today I'm here to buy your biggest client. She blinked. 14 billion euros, he continued. No loans, no partners, just cash. The silence was louder than applause. She swallowed hard. Congratulations, Mr. Traoré. He leaned closer. 5 years ago, you told me I wasn't suitable. His voice stayed calm, but his words cut sharp. Today, I'm not here for your approval. I'm here for your building. Her hand trembled as she signed the transfer papers. Cameras flashed outside. News headlines began to spread. African entrepreneur closes $14 billion deal in Paris. In boardrooms, people whispered his name. In villages, children shouted it. He had become a symbol that rejection is not the end, only the beginning. That dignity is worth more than approval, and that revenge, when shaped into progress, can be the most beautiful victory. The next day, he visited the bank again. Not for business, for something else. He donated $50 million to a global education fund. For the next generation, he said. The press asked why. His answer was simple. Because the best revenge is building what they said you couldn't. He left the cameras behind and walked into the Paris night. His steps were calm now. He no longer carried the weight of rejection, only the pride of creation. Somewhere in the city, the bank manager sat alone. She thought about that day years ago, the look in his eyes, the tone in her voice, and the storm she had unknowingly started. She poured herself a glass of wine. It didn't taste the same. Meanwhile, Ibrahim was on a call. His next project was already in motion, a satellite network for rural internet coverage. No limits, he told his team. They laughed, not in doubt, but in belief. Across the world, his story began to inspire. Young entrepreneurs told themselves, if he could, so can we. Universities used his speeches as study material. Politicians quoted his principles. The man once called unsuitable was now rewriting the rules. Yet he never spoke the bank manager's name. It wasn't about her anymore. It was about the millions who needed hope, about turning rejection into fuel, about proving that worth isn't given, it's built. Years later, his companies entered space exploration, then advanced medicine, then water purification systems. The empire became a legacy. And still, he remembered that cold Paris afternoon. Not with anger, but with gratitude, for it was the door she closed that forced him to build his own. On the anniversary of the $14 billion deal, his team threw a celebration. They played a slideshow of his journey, from dusty roads in Burkina Faso to skyscrapers in New York, from rejected applications to world headlines. When the final image faded, the room fell silent. Ibrahim stood. I want you all to remember something, he said. The world will not always see your value. But that doesn't mean it isn't there. When they say no, turn it into your yes. Applause erupted. Glasses clinked. And somewhere, far away, another young dreamer heard his story. They smiled, closed their eyes, and whispered, one day I'll have my $14 billion moment. For dreams, once sparked, spread like wildfire, and no cold voice in a glass office can stop them. The empire continued to grow. Not for revenge anymore, but for the people it served. Ibrahim knew that true success isn't counted in billions, it's counted in lives changed, in hope restored, in futures built. He had turned rejection into a movement, and that movement would outlive him. Years later, his name would be written in history books, not just as a leader or a businessman, but as proof that dignity has no price tag. The bank building still stood in Paris. Tourists walked by, unaware of the story it held. But some locals remembered. They would point and say, that's where it happened, and the listener would ask, what happened? The The reply was always the same. That's where a no became 14 billion yeses. And in the distance, the legacy kept growing. Brick by brick, dream by dream. Years passed, and Ibrahim's empire reached heights no one could ignore. His projects lit up villages, connected cities, and created millions of jobs. But for him, the $14 billion deal was never about money. It was about rewriting the story they tried to write for him. One morning, he stood on the balcony of his headquarters, looking over the skyline. His phone buzzed. Another deal, another milestone. He smiled, remembering that cold day in Paris. The rejection that once stung now felt like the best gift he'd ever received. For without it, he might never have built his own empire. Across the world, his story was now taught as a lesson in resilience. Bankers who once ignored him now sought his partnerships. Politicians requested his advice on rebuilding economies. And young dreamers whispered his name as they planned their futures. Ibrahim Traoré had turned prejudice into power, and in doing so, he proved that the greatest revenge is undeniable success.